Hello and welcome to episode 7 of Stay on Target, our weekly show about all things Star Wars. Getting excited about the Star Wars news of the day, but let me introduce myself. I'm Dave Bradley of the Film Group, and I've got with me Richard Edwards, editor of SFX, Hello. And Jordan Farley, who's the community editor of Total Film and SFX, who's just come back from a secret away mission, and we'll talk about that in a moment. There's a lot going on at the moment with the announcement that Star Wars is going to be at San Diego Comic-Con, but ahead of that there's other things in the news. Do you guys see the new image of Battlefront that was released?
Yes, Hoth, something like it, Hoth.
Yeah.
Not a massive surprise. I mean, it's one of the best battle sites in Star Wars, but always cool to run around in the snow, I think.
Yeah. Well, we always knew that you were going to get to play Hoth, but it's nice to see the image. But and also talking of things that we've just glimpsed in the news. Of course, there was a revelation about the toy packaging. Jordan, did you see that yesterday?
Did, yeah. It looks pretty cool.
It's just a Hot Wheels, right?
Yeah, a Hot Wheels car, themed like a stormtrooper, a First Order trooper, which is cool, I guess. But I kind of just want to see a proper toy, like a proper figure.
Do you think they'll have anything at San Diego?
Yes,
definitely.
Yeah. It seems mad not to. I think Star Wars is going to be all over it. I mean, it's on the Friday. I mean, it's not really a surprise that it's there, especially with Marvel not taking anything this year. I think Star Wars is going to be the big event, and I think they're going to seize the opportunity to, as well as show off bits of the film, to do toys, books, the whole range, because
they've got J.J. Abrams, Lawrence Kasdan and
Kathleen Kennedy,
right.
But also it looks like there's going to be cast there, but they're not announcing. I mean, San Diego Comic-Con is the sort of place that you probably would wheel out Harrison Ford.
Right. Yeah.
So
now then, Jordan, in super timely news, you've literally just got off a train back from the Secret Cinema screening of Empire Strikes Back.
No, he's just got back from a galaxy far, far away. Oh.
Yeah, I did indeed. Yes, I should say up front that I'm going to try my best not to be spoilery, because I know you guys are going later in the year.
Well, that's right. So Rich and I've actually bought our own tickets to go. We're that excited. We booked tickets to go. We're going to.
And a lot of people won't, because it runs all the way till September.
Right,
a lot of people won't be going till later in the year, so I'm not going to spoil it too much.
Yeah.
But I will say it was absolutely incredible. It was worth the money, definitely. I had an amazing time. What they do brilliantly at these kind of big, huge Secret Cinema events is they kind of create a fiction around the films. Right. So like Back to the Future last year, they created Hill Valley, and you played a student and you were wandering around Hill Valley. But with this, they've gone like one step further, and they give you like a character class. So I was a member of the Creative Council, basically a Jedi. Right. But you could also be like a galactic explorer, or a mercenary, or like things like this, like a pilot or a Han Solo type. And basically, you kind of inhabit that role for the whole thing. And as you're going around, you're interacting with actors who are all in character for like the whole thing, and you basically kind of got to sort of make your way through A New Hope, if that makes sense. Like, it all basically, the film screen at the end is The Empire Strikes Back, but the actual live action theatrical elements before that is all set in the worlds of A New Hope. So you're progressing through the story, and you're talking to people, and you're trying to get passage to new areas and things like this, and it's all very well done. And the live action, like, theatrical elements, some of them are properly spectacular. Like, you're like, wow, I can't believe like they're actually doing this, which was amazing. I had a great time. The one slight disappointment, especially compared to last year, was that the actual screening of The Empire Strikes Back was a little underwhelming. Like last year, Back to the Future, they had it projected on a huge 50-foot recreation of the town hall, and they had like a DeLorean driving around, and Doc Brown like on a zip line and all this kind of stuff. But this year they have it like split into 4 separate screens, and the audience is kind of fragmented a bit, so you don't kind of get that atmosphere that you had before. And the actual elements of people like recreating moments on screen and stuff aren't quite as exciting as they were before, but everything leading up to that is absolutely incredible.
So it sounds like what you just described is a bit of a live-action role-playing experience to be there.
Pretty much,
so when we go along, are we going to have to dress up? Is that a thing? If I just turn up like this, am I going to be out of place?
You don't have to. Like, there are a lot of people there who just turned up in jeans and t-shirt. But I think if you're going to go along, if you're going to spend that money, then you want to get the most out of it by actually going in character and kind of dressing up and kind of inhabiting your role a little bit. Because if you're just going to turn up and wander around like the areas and just look, then you're not going to quite get as much out of it, because there's a lot of bits that you'll miss if you're not actually talking to people and doing various activities that you can do. So yeah, you really do need to kind of go all in.
Into it.
Yeah.
So last year's event, the Secret Cinema for Back to the Future, was plagued by difficulties. In fact, it opened late. Was there any sense that this was troubled, or is this as smooth?
No, very smooth as far as I'm aware. I know that they had like kind of test nights before it opened on the 4th.
Right.
So and as far as I'm aware, there weren't even any problems there. They've kind of they have scaled it back a tiny little bit, maybe, because the Back to the Future one was crazy ambitious, and this one is also almost equally ambitious, but maybe a little bit more manageable, perhaps. Perhaps they were aware of the fact that they went a little bit too far last year, and they needed to make it a little bit more manageable.
As far as you know, are tickets still available for this? So can people still?
I think so.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of days are sold out. But interestingly, it has taken Empire Strikes Back into the top 10 of the UK box office all the time. I mean, it does help though when you're selling tickets for nearly 80 quid.
And it was there for like 3 months now, which is awesome.
Replaced by another Star Wars movie, probably. Yeah.
Very cool indeed. Just before we take a break and go into the main feature of this, I just want to comment, of course, while we were preparing for this, unfortunately, Christopher Lee passed away.
Yep.
We heard that news. Count Dooku in the Star Wars universe is very sad.
Very sad. I mean, I think Count Dooku was probably not one of the most iconic roles he did, but at the same time, he brought real gravitas to Attack of the Clones. You know, one of the all-time great villains, and that and Lord of the Rings kind of introduced him to a new generation. You know, if you look at the sort of duration of his career, the quality of the work that he did, and just how iconic he was for what 50 odd years. I mean, I don't think we'll see many like that. I mean, him and Peter Cushing, of course, another Star Wars veteran. Also, you know, just these icons of British horror. So, you know, an amazing career, and you know, he'll be very much missed.
Absolutely. Well, we'll be back in a moment with more news of Rebels.
Your master has deceived you into believing you can become a Jedi.
So now we're getting excited about the return of Rebels, the animated TV show set in the Star Wars universe between the prequels and the original trilogy. It's back later this month, with the two-part opening, The Siege of Lothar. Are we excited about Rebels? Did you enjoy the first season?
I thought it was great, actually. It took a while to get into, and it was actually had a lot to live up to, because Star Wars Clone Wars was great.
It was great.
You know, it was a really good series. It was action-packed. I mean, in a lot of ways, I think it was what we wanted the prequel movies to be. You know, it was just really fast, and really cool arcs, and it got a lot into backstories that the films had never been able to. And it almost felt a bit cruel when Disney sort of axed it when they came in. But then they've come to Rebels, and they've gone into this really interesting period, which is 5 years before A New Hope, which is really when the Empire is starting to take hold.
Well, that's so. Dave Filoni, of course, was the showrunner on the Clone Wars. Is involved with Rebels too, and you can see the influence of Clone Wars in Rebels in this new trailer that's available now, right?
There are Clone Wars characters in there. Yeah. It's not just about the original trilogy. Yeah, it's quite cool. I think how they brought in Captain Rex, who of course was the lead clone, and obviously he's somehow survived Order 66 when the clones went mad. He didn't kill all the Jedi. He's on the side of good. And also Ahsoka Tano, who was Anakin's Padawan, and she kind of went rogue. So she was this big mystery. What's happened to Ahsoka? Because we didn't know what happened to her before her last appearance in the Clone Wars, and we've never seen her since. So now we know that she's popped up, and she is important in the formation of the Rebel Alliance.
Well, that's the great thing about people who love the Clone Wars. Like, there was that cruel sense that they'd just kind of done away with all those characters, but now they're kind of bringing them back, and it feels like a continuation of the Clone Wars more so than a new show.
Well, I think Dave Filoni, he's kind of one of these guys who is just part of this brains trust for Star Wars, and encyclopedic knowledge of it, and he's done as much as anybody, I think, for telling these backstories of important characters, and he just loves the stuff, and he's kind of like this fountain of Star Wars knowledge.
So it looks from the trailer like we're going to see Ahsoka facing characters like Darth Vader, right?
Well, this has been hinted at. We don't see that in the trailer. We see Darth Vader fighting Kanan and Ezra, who are like the Jedi and the wannabe Jedi in the series. But it would seem mad not to sort of set up a sort of meeting between Anakin and his former apprentice.
The trailer does show us Ahsoka commenting on the presence in the Force that she's not felt since the Clone Wars.
Well, that's Kanan who points out his presence in the Force, and she kind of brushes it off, saying, since the Clone Wars. So I'm wondering if Kanan actually has an idea who it was. We don't know, of course, if she knows that he is Anakin is Darth Vader, because I mean, obviously they look quite different. and sound quite different. You know?
I mean, the big thing with Ahsoka throughout the whole of the Clone Wars was the question that she's not in the original trilogy of films. So where is she? Has she been killed? Is she in exile somewhere? Is she hiding? Who knows?
Yeah.
I mean, now we do know that she's something to do with the formation of the Rebel Alliance. She's been a very much a kind of figure in the background of season 1, even though we didn't see her until the last episode of season 1.
Yeah.
You know, she was this person who was kind of bringing together all these separate rebel cells, which is a really interesting way of doing it, and hence Rebel Alliance, I guess. They've had all these groups on different planets who have been rebelling against the Empire, and the big thing is pulling them all together.
Yeah. So what else did we see in that trailer that hints at the wider universe? There's the ships, the Rebel Alliance ships. We saw the B-wing take off at one point. I think, is that right?
There's a bit of a B-wing. There's Darth Vader in there.
Well,
Darth Vader's going to play a huge role.
Voiced by James Earl Jones.
James Earl Jones back,
Amazing.
What a coup.
Yeah.
I think that they're hinting that there are more sort of Force-sensitive people out there, because the Empire has got these Inquisitors out chasing Jedi because they want to wipe them out. It's quite a different dynamic to the Clone Wars, whereas the Clone Wars is all about the Jedi and they're the heroes, and here being Jedi is bad. You hide you're a Jedi, you know, your lightsaber you turn into something else, you know, you use it as a torch or something to make it not look like a lightsaber.
But it does sort of imply that the future is not good for Kanan and co, right? Because Darth Vader faces off with we know that from the trailer, and yet and of course in A New Hope he and Tarkin talk openly about how the Jedi were all swept away. So presumably it's not going to go well for them.
But they already think the Jedi are swept away. So this is, I think, whatever happens to them, this is a very. There has to be a positive in there, in that this is the formation of the Rebel Alliance, which we know ultimately by Return of the Jedi blows up the Death Star and overthrows Palpatine. So it's kind of how that comes together, and you're getting hints here of how the Empire has taken power. You know how you know, maybe at the end of Revenge of the Sith there was still the Senate there, and you know, it was just a different way of running it, but now they're really becoming this authoritarian thing. People are being oppressed, and on Lothal, which is the main planet where the series is set, you know, they basically invited the Empire in to help run the planet, the government, and actually it's turned out that it's not very good, and the people are really suffering because of it.
Amazing. Well, we'll look forward to that. Now, the US, that airs that two-parter on the 20th of June. That's right, with the full series returning later in the year. So thank you very much for joining us again on Stay on Target. Until next week, may the Force be with you.